Hi friends, it's Valerie. Welcome back to my channel and welcome back to this week's What's for Dinner. If you're new here, I would love if you would hit that subscribe button and join my YouTube family, and go ahead and leave a like or a comment down below. It really does help my channel. This week we were coming back from vacation in the beginning of the week, so it's a little bit shorter of a week for us at home as far as making meals. So I'm only going to have the 3 meals in this, and it's going to be all Crockpot recipes. And so I hope that you enjoy those as much as we did. I also did a little What's for Dinner video 2 days ago on Friday, and it was part of a collab. So go check that out. It's like recipes from cookbook, and there was some good recipes in that. So if you want to get a little bit more meal inspiration, there's a couple more there for you from this week from me as well. And don't forget, you guys can send in recipes that you want me to make or recipes that you have that are favorites, so we can continue on with this whole YouTube family dinner series. I know it's just starting out, so you know, gonna wait for some of those to roll in, but as soon as I do, I'm gonna put more of those out. So just, yeah, leave some of those. You can message me on Instagram, or if you just want to leave like a comment here, maybe a way I can communicate with you. Also, my email is in the description box down below, if that makes it easier for you. Other than that, let's just get started. To start off, you're going to need about 4 cups of sliced potatoes. I'm using my mandolin slicer, and I'm using the second thickness of the slicing blade. I don't want these to be too thin, and it took about 4 to 5 potatoes. It's just going to depend like how big your potatoes are. So slice them up, set them aside, and then you'll go ahead and brown a pound of ground beef with a couple cloves of garlic, and then drain your grease. I'm using my new slow cooker, so I'm able to put the saute setting on and brown my beef right in the slow cooker. So that's what I'm doing, using my meat chopping tool to just go ahead and break that all up nice and fine, because that's how I like it. And I added in my garlic when most of the pink was gone, and just went ahead and continued to break that meat up. And then I took the meat out and drained it, and now back to that same pot, which is my slow cooker liner here, which is stainless steel. I am placing my 4 cups of potatoes on the bottom. Then I'm gonna go ahead and cover that with my cooked up ground beef. And now we're going to go ahead and just kind of spread it out to make it a little bit more of an even layer across those potatoes. And you're going to take a packet of taco seasoning. I'm using a container here, so it's about 3 tablespoons worth. And I'm just going to go ahead and sprinkle that all across the top of that beef mixture. Then you'll need a can of this cheddar cheese sauce. And we're just going, or cheddar cheese, like it's a condensed soup. And then just go ahead and pour that, or spoon it all over the top. I spooned it across the top instead of pouring it, so that I didn't have to like spread it out too much and disturb like the taco seasoning and ground beef mixture. I just find that to be easier. Now you're just going to go ahead and take 1 cup of beef broth and just go ahead and pour that over top all of those ingredients. I'm just using beef better than bouillon and some water, and then just go ahead and place the lid on, and I'm cooking mine on high for 2.5 hours. You can cook that on low as well for 4 to 5 hours. And then this is what it looks like all done there. And just gonna go ahead and stir that all up. Just get all that potato and beef mixture just nice and like well incorporated, mixed evenly throughout there. And then you're gonna need, it says 2 cups of cheese. I didn't really measure. I just poured on 2 cups of cheddar cheese. This might be a sharp cheddar cheese, because I do prefer sharp cheddar cheese. And I just spread that evenly across, and I put the lid back on to let that cheese melt. And I just served this with some buttered corn. It complemented this dish really well, and I really enjoyed this. It didn't have too strong of a taco flavoring. It just gave it some nice flavoring, and the potatoes were delicious. Highly recommend this quick, easy meal. For this, I'm starting off by taking a jar of salsa, Verde, and this is the Trader Joe's one. It's pretty good. I like the flavor that it has. And I'm pouring a little bit on the bottom of my slow cooker. And then you're going to need 1.5 pounds of chicken. Mine are frozen, and there's just about 2 pounds actually that I'm using. And I'm placing those on top of the salsa. Then I'm seasoning them on top with 1/2 teaspoon of pink Himalayan salt and 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper. And then I gave them a sprinkling of paprika, and this is not in the recipe that I will have linked for you. I just like paprika on chicken. And then It calls for 2 tablespoons of butter. It doesn't say melted or not, but I went ahead and melted it, and I just poured it on top of that chicken, and then I poured the remainder of my jar. This is a 12-ounce jar, and because I am using a little bit more in pounds of the chicken, I went ahead and increased it that extra 4 ounces from the jar. And then I'm just placing the lid on my slow cooker, and I'm going to cook that on high for 4 hours, or you can cook it on low for 6 hours. This is what it looks like after. As you can see, it just shreds apart with 2 forks, but I am going to just do that separately in a bowl because I don't want to scratch my stainless steel insert. And yeah, you'll see it just falls apart there, and just shred it to your liking. If you want bigger chunks, if you even want to just slice this up, I'm going to be using this for some like bowls with rice and just different toppings on it. And then because I was using frozen chicken, I have a little bit more liquid, so I did put the saute function on, and I'll let that cook down just a little bit. I want to still have a lot of sauce, but I didn't want it as runny. So once that cooked down just a bit, then I went ahead and added my chicken back into it, and I'm just going to go ahead and let that chicken just absorb all that sauce, just get nice and flavorful, and like re-moisturize it. And then I let that just sit, and I'm going to work on some sauteed onions. So I'm not following their recipe for the sauteed onions, but they do sound good. So I just put a tablespoon of butter, melted it, and I put like half of a red onion that I sliced up into that melted butter. And I seasoned it with a little bit of salt, just a heavy pinch of salt, and I'm just going to let that cook for maybe 6 minutes, 7 minutes, and I stir it frequently just to make sure they're getting caramelized on all sides. And yeah, I'm not using olive oil like the way they have in their recipe. Butter's just always better for me. And then I'm having some of this jasmine rice, and I'm just using a ready rice because it's actually just me eating dinner tonight like I was by myself because my boyfriend's at work. But I cut up some avocado, cilantro, jalapenos. I have some Mexican style cheese blend, some of the Rico's green chili queso, and those onions, of course. And I'm just kind of like making little rice bowls, and I put all of my little toppings on top of it, and I added some sour cream. And then I put some of that queso, just like kind of drizzled on it the best I could, and then mostly on my chips there. And this was super delicious. Really loved these bowls. With those onions, the caramelized onions. Realized I hadn't had any on a bowl like this in a while, and it just really added a nice dimension of flavor. And the bowl like this just never disappoints. So Mississippi pot roast is one of my all-time favorite things to cook in the slow cooker, and I found some horseradish cheese recently, so I was really wanting to make some like beef dip sandwiches, so I thought this would be amazing. So I got my roast. I don't use au jus, I use an onion soup packet, and then a packet of ranch I just use from the bottle there, and you'll need some pepperoncinis and then a stick of butter. And it's just so simple to throw all these things in there. I am trying out the saute function on searing a piece of meat here, and I didn't know how long to time it on that. I normally do on the stove for like a minute to 2 minutes on each side, and so it wasn't quite browned enough on that first side, so I'll let it sit a little longer on the other side. And then I'm just pouring the ranch seasoning right on top of that piece of meat, and then now I'm pouring the onion soup mix, and if you're using au jus, you would just use it right then, and place your pepperoncinis right on top of that. I don't even know, I just cover the whole top of it, maybe like 8 to 9 of those. That's just to preference, of course, if you want more. And if you want more spice, of course, adding more is going to help on that. Same thing with the juice. You add juice, you're going to get a little more of that spice. And I'm using a little bit of the juice, and I'm pouring it along the sides. This is going to help me kind of deglaze some of that like browned meat bits on the bottom and bring up some of that flavor. And I put the lid on, and I'm going to cook this on high for 6 hours. And if you were doing it on low, maybe like 8 hours. I checked it at about 5 hours and some time, and it was already ready. And as you can see, the meat just falls apart there. Again, I'm not going to go ahead and shred this in my stainless steel insert because I don't want to scratch it up, but I'm just showing you that it does fall apart there, and there it is all shredded in a bowl. And I poured all the juice from the crock pot into that because I want these to be like a French dip sandwich basically, but I was craving that like Mississippi pot roast flavor. And I'm just taking this cheddar cheese like loaf that I have here. It's just what I already had on hand. I didn't want to buy something new. and I put some mayonnaise, and I'm just going to toast that up. And here is that horseradish cheese, and if you can see, it's just nice and golden brown there. We just put some of that cheese on top, put the meat, it got all melty. I put a little bit of the flavor drippings from that in a bowl to dip my bread into, and then I just served this with some basic classic Lay's potato chips for that salty taste. And we had just a side of green grapes that created a nice little sweet treat right after, and this was absolutely delicious. Definitely didn't disappoint. I recommend highly toasting your bread, and that horseradish cheese was delicious. Not too much of a horseradish flavor as much as some people might like, so you might want to add some extra horseradish to your sandwich. Thanks so much for watching, friends. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and that little bell so you get notified of all my What's for Dinner videos, and I hope you all are having an amazing day.